Hello YouTube, this is Bash, bringing you the draft analysis of Pokemon Showdown League, Season 3. The New York Mews is no longer part of the Pokemon Showdown League. It is the Denver Darmanitans as we've rebranded for this league. While the New York Mews will still be in the other leagues like the the UPL. So, going to this draft analysis, um, when I head into the draft, I didn't really have that much of like I didn't have much of a plan because I didn't know many of the new Pokemon since I didn't really look at any of the spoilers, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon just came out, so it was kind of interesting coming into this draft. Um, the the little I kind of know is from my friend Crypto, who kind of helped me out with some of these mons. But so I would like to thank him. I'll put his link in the description. Show him some love. Uh, so let's get into our draft. So the first pick, we were number 11th out of 12th in the draft, which is pretty difficult because there's so many new mons I wanted to try from the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So we come in the 11th pick, and somehow this mon drops down to 11th pick. This thing is straight power. Like there's not much to switch in with this. Nago on it's Naganado, and it's a new UB, Ultra Beast. It's poison and dragon. It has the ability of beast boost and has pretty pretty weak defenses, but its special attack and speed is what brings this thing above like a lot of Pokemon, especially with its coverage moves. And it's just straight power. It's so hard to prepare for, and there's not really a switch in for this other than maybe like Heatran, but I could just run HP Ground for that. So it's really going to be difficult for opponents to beat this. It's really hard for any Pokemon to switch in on this. It doesn't want to take usually two of anything of this. And it's pretty fast though. It's pretty decently fast, so it could outspeed most of my opponent's Pokemon too as well. So Nagandala. Um, Actually, I know in some leagues they're planning on banning this because it's so good. So I was very surprised to get this at the 11th pick of the first round. So our next pick, so we go 11th pick, and then somebody gets the wheel pick, and then it comes back to us, which the wheel pick was the Oshawott. So I come in and I pick a very defensive mon, Skarmory, which has a really good has a pretty decent ability, and it has an insane defense stat, and its typing just makes it so much better because its only weaknesses are electric, fire, and Zygarde thousand arrows, really, to be honest. And it has so many hazard setting options. It gets Whirlwind, Defog, Reliable Recovery, it gets Brave Bird, Iron Head. It gets so much, and this Pokemon really works well with my uh, Nagalega, or whatever how you say it, because its weakness, basically, all of his weaknesses are covered for by Skarmory. So, ground, Skarmory's a flying type. Fairy, and dragon, and psychic. Skarmory is a steel type, so it deals with all of those that the poison dragon typing has issues with. So I thought this was really good to pair up with my Pokemon, uh, with my Ultra Beast. So now we had to wait all these picks to come back because it circles back from 12, and I was the 11th pick, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and all the way back, and then comes back. So I had to wait uh, over like 20 picks to pick again, and a lot of things were going off the board. But I was really surprised at this spawn still being left, and by taking this, I kind of like forced myself to get a lower tier mega. But as you'll see, it's a really good mon, and with paired with Skarmory, it's really scary. I pick up Mew, the most versatile Pokemon in the entire game. This thing has 100 base stats across the board, gets every uh, HM, TM, move tutor mood. It gets like it has so much versatility. You don't know what I'm bringing every week, and this thing I was very surprised because usually this thing is gone in the first round, and this fell to the third round, the end of the third round, late third round. So I was very surprised. Uh, maybe I don't know. Maybe people underestimated Mew, but I think it's a really good option. And based off the way how I played with Mesprit last season, Mew could be really good on my team because I played really well with Mesprit, which is just a low, like a little, like a kind of um like a downgrade from Mew. So I basically get an upgrade from last season from Mesprit to Mew, even though it costs a higher amount of points. It's totally worth it in my opinion, because it gets hazards, uh, reliable recovery, it gets volt turn, it gets Will-O-Wisp, it gets Super Fang, it gets Psychic, it gets all these coverage moves. It's such a good Pokemon, and it's just you can't really prepare for Mew every week, because really the only way people can prepare is with offensive Mew, but it has so much coverage. Or a defensive Mew, that's only because people predict it's going to be reliability. Like it's going to be like probably like recover, like a stealth rocks, defog, maybe U-turn, or like some like status move or something like that. But as you'll see with my team is very bulky, so it allows Mew to be a lot more offensive if I want it to be. So as it comes back around, I know I want this Pokemon first for its setup capabilities because I've actually used this Pokemon in the past and it's very good at setup capabilities with its ability, and it's also a spin blocker, and it's an immunity to dragon types. So I pick up Mimikyu, who his stats might not seem that impressive. Like it's not even above not one of his stats other than special defense is above 100 base 100. But with it, he basically gets a free Swords Dance, and this is also like if I put the red card on this, it's pretty much a free like mess up like thing. So like, if like say like I have say there's like a Gyarados, and he's already at +2 Dragon Dance, and I think he's gonna sweep me. I just send in Mimikyu with the red card, and he can't break. He has to break the disguise in order. And when he breaks the disguise, it just immediately sends him out with red card, completely just like messing up the entire like setup option, and basically like letting me having a reset. It's kind of like a reset button, or like if it's something I fall upon like last like just to worry about setup sweepers, along with Mimikyu's ability to set up and sweep, which is very good, and I love that about this Pokemon. So now I had to wait a lot of picks to come back to me again, and when I come back, I wanted some more bulk, and nothing really says bulk like my next mod, especially with the ability, and that is Tangrowth with Regenerator, which is so scary because this thing could just switch in and switch out, and you think you're gaining momentum, but you're not. I'm just gaining more HP, and its attack and special attack are nothing to laugh at because they're both above base 100, which is more than a Mimikyu. The Mimikyu's attack. So, and like it has 125 base defense with 100 HP, and even if I could run especially defensive with the assault vest with Tangrowth. So this is a pretty good mon, versatile, It could run both physically and specially offensive. It could run physical or specially defensive, depending on what I needed to do. And although it's pretty slow, it serves its purpose very well. And it's another Pokemon to add with my Skarmory and Mew. So next pick, I pick. I kind of like was worried about like I had a very like a pretty good fire week like my core right now, my defensive core. I didn't have any fire like resists, and it kind of like with like Tangrowth and Skarmory, I didn't like have anything to take any fire hits, and I don't have anything naturally bulky on the specialty defensive side, except for if you include Mew, I guess. But so I decided to grab Rotom Heat, and this thing is I think is a very good defensive mod. As long as I keep the stealth rocks off the field, this thing could do so much this match. I have some pretty interesting sets, and I don't want to spoil them for the season, but I'm very excited to use Rotom Heat. I've like it gets bolts, it gets like all these status moves. It doesn't get reliable recovery, but it does get paint split, which is very good. And I can run the Scarf Specs defensive. It's although it really doesn't have any physical attack, it's more of momentum, a defensive pivot, and also it could break things with its overheat if it goes choice specs overheat. So it's this Pokemon I feel like really fit my team. It pairs really well with Skarmory, basically resisting both of Skarmory's weaknesses, and and Skarmory deals pretty well against rock types, I think, in my opinion, and which is really Rotom Heat's biggest issue. And then Tangrowth deals with the water types that Rotom Heat doesn't want to get hit by. So I really think this Pokemon kind of fits my defensive core, and it can be run, and it can has the versatility to run offensively as well. So I like that about this Pokemon. So next, I pick another bulky Pokemon, and it's Mudstale. And this thing wasn't that good, I thought, before Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But now it gets Stealth Rocks, and this thing is bulky with stamina, the ability stamina. Every time it gets hit, it gets a defense boost. And I can run this with Assault Vest. I can run this very defensively. I can run Trick Room with this because it has a base 125 attack, and that's pretty impressive and scary. So it should be fun to use this. As you can see, my team become very bulky. And this thing also helps with the electric type weakness that Skarmory has, and it helps deal with other. It's just a naturally tanky Pokemon. And if I really worried about Jirachi, I could just run Inner Focus on this. So this should be fun to use, I think. And I've used Mudstale, but not ever competitively. So it should be fun and interesting to use. So the next one I decide to grab is very interesting. Um, it kind of I like so I decided to grab Mega Sharpedo because I was forced to go down. I was forced to pick from a lower tier Mega, and although I can't like get the speed boost like from the Sharpedo, from the Mega Sharpedo is still pretty fast at base 105, outspeeding all those base 100s, along with its what base 140 attack. It gets priority. It gets coverage moves like Psychic Jaws and all the elemental fangs. It it gets all the it gets Crunch, Waterfall. It's a very hard hitting Pokemon with Strong Jaws. It's all of its elemental moves and its coverage for all those bite type moves just becomes so much stronger. It's such a hard thing to prepare against. and with my other threats, it kind of opened Sharpedo up to be a lot more versatile and a lot more. It doesn't put as much pressure on it because with Pokemon with Nado, Rotom Heat, Mimikyu, Tangrowth, Mudstale, it allows Sharpedo to become successful due to having the opponent have to prepare for all these bulky mons and these very hyper offensive mons. So I really like this pick, and I've never used Mega Sharpedo to be honest, so it should be very fun to use this season. Although its defenses are kind of lacking, it's I have enough bulk to make up for it in the rest of my team. So let's move on next to my next mod, Moly. So initially, this mod was actually Primeape, and I realized after the draft I still had 20 extra points, and Primeape is a tier 5 and Hitmonlee is a tier 4. So on my team, I wanted something that hits harder, and Reckless High Jump Kick kind of destroys lives. And I could also run this as a sweeper with Unburden Boost. So this thing just becomes so much scarier. And I love the options I can run with this. It's a rapid spinner, which I don't think I have on my team. I just have defoggers on my team, which and although its physical defense is very bad, its special defense is pretty impressive. And this could be a pretty good assault vest user as well. It gets pretty good, decent coverage moves to hit the Pokemon that his typing struggles against. Like it gets poison jab, stone edge, knockoff. It gets enough to handle against Pokemon that usually give it trouble with its like with psychic types, flying types, berry types. So this is a I think it's a cool pickup, and I've drafted this in the past in another league, and both every time I brought this Pokemon, it ended up it ended up we ended up winning, and it ended up most times sweeping. So it should be fun to use again. I hope I have the same success as I did the other seasons with it. So we'll see. The next Pokemon next Pokemon I drafted was Weezing. Now I had a Toxic Absorber, but I didn't have a Toxic Spike Stacker, and I really wanted it for the season so I could wear things down for Mimikyu to take advantage to sweep at the end, Hitmonlee to sweep, for Nagandalo to sweep, for a lot of things to sweep on my team, and Mega Sharpedo. So when I grab Weezing, Weezing is also a very defensive mon, very physically defensive, and there's not much physical. There's not many physical mons that want to actually deal with my team, because most mons on their opponent's team are not gonna want to. First of all, have to deal with Skarmory, Weezing, and Tangrowth and Mudstale. On top of that, I have Rotom Heat as well. They don't want to deal with this, and after this next one, you'll see especially how the prep list becomes so much more difficult for opponents to deal with. But this thing is very physically defensive. Can be run physically offensive or especially offensive, and it gets T spikes, it gets pain split, it gets will o wisp, it gets all these status moves, and this thing is a very big tank, and it doesn't have the ground weakness that some of my other mons have. And as you can see, I really try to build my draft around avoiding those ground types because I don't want to deal with that stab earthquake from like a Landorus Tarian. So I really built my team around that, around trying to prevent that from happening, especially with my main way of attacking is Nagadella, and it gets hit by earthquake pretty hard. So I try to avoid that. So as this next one that I drafted, I think it was a pretty fun Pokemon to draft, and it makes it so much harder for other people to prep. And this is the Nuzlocke Ender for many people. It's Wobbuffet, and this thing is so scary to deal with, especially since I'm in this league. I'm allowed to run Shadow Tag, and with its base 190 HP, it can with counter and mirror coat, it could hit back so hard. And I do have and I could run safeguard as well to deal with status. And as well, I could also encore a Pokemon into a certain move just in case they want to use it. Like if they want to set up, I could just encore it and then switch out into a Pokemon that could deal with it really quickly. So this should be fun to use. Very scary for opponents to deal with, to prepare for, along with all my defensive cores. So it should be interesting. And I really like my options with this Pokemon, and I hope I get to use it to its greatest potential this season. And although it might not be a Pokemon I bring every single game, I wanted to put fears into my opponents with this thing, knowing this thing could possibly come to their game. Because I'm telling you, I'm going to bring this Pokemon. Because at least a decent amount, I think. Because it really scared. It really could do a lot of work when it's surrounded by the right team. So that's the end of my team. Um, I hope to I hope to bring you the next. I hope to bring you the first match soon. And um, my two Sea Crystal users are Naga Naldal and Mimikyu, which really hit pretty hard with which is very scary for opponents to deal with because Naganadel just hits like a Mack truck, and Mimikyu with its Sea Crystal being it could like set up sweep, which is very scary for opponents. So that should be, I think those are pretty good Z users. Um, and hopefully I get to use them better than I did last season because I didn't last season in the Pokemon Showdown League. I didn't bring a single Z user once. Like I didn't. I have Z users, but I didn't bring a single crystal once to a match. So we should see how this works. Okay, I'll see you. I'll put up my video soon for the match, maybe, depending on when. Well, next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll see if we'll even have a match because I believe we're starting after that. So, um, good luck to the other coaches, and Bash out.